we had some internal communication about how far I can get. And he said, well, you tell us everything, you share with us as much as you want to share, feel free to do it. So we have found this great smartphone. I have it in my hand now. Well, this phone is very interesting, by the way. As one of my colleagues said, this looks like the telephone of the head of drug cartel, and they think that there is no SIM cards, but it has a card on the agenda. I don't know, do you want to? So it looks like a bug that someone dropped here just to have a laugh. Well, but if someone has lost it, please come over here to get it. So Javier, please introduce yourself. Thank you very much. Even if my name is Javier Soria, today I'm going to get a different name, and I'm here to tell you a story. Tell you a story about awareness raising in cybersecurity. All of you who are here, I understand that are enthusiastic about cybersecurity. Would you like it? I will be here sharing with you the typical thing. And why do I say the typical thing? Well, some of the things that I had prepared, due to business reasons, I'm not going to share them with you for the good of all of us. So today I'd like to call myself Pedro or Garnier Sonial Castor. You choose as you prefer. Firewall, brain one, verbal one, just to try not to say what we all know or to do dark security, etc. This is who I am, because today I'm a different person. I'm not the same person as always. Well, I'm just going to tell you that what I'm about to become. Nearly a lawyer, I was a private detective, I have an MBA. And same as because all the security talks define hackers, they say that we are ethical hackers, and I came here to tell you what hacking is about. Hacking is a strange concept, and we know that media are right in everything that they say. For instance, commands. What's command? Well, command is an armed military group. These are false friends. So that is to say words that sound similar, and then they are adopted. We adopt them. So the typical one is encrypting. Well, we say decipher instead of encrypting, which is to put in Tom. And then I also found a very interesting definition, which says that this is it's defined as putting chicken in a nest. So we are all the time talking about physical and geological security. What is that on the screen? Well, the weaponry of criminal, perhaps. And what do we have on the left? One pin. It's you get a key. Then you hit it and you open a lock. How many of you have ordinary locks, your doors? So remember that each of these keys are €3 and you have them home delivered in a couple of days. So 12 of these keys allow you to open nearly 80% of door locks. And for those of you who have not seen it before, I'd like to show you these keys and these cylinders. Then we have safety keys. Do you think that safety keys are any worse, any better, similar? Bumping keys are good for for security keys. And why are security keys even worse? Well, there are no valleys, and they can be easily faked, for instance, with an ice cream stick. I'll show you a video about that now. So, top right, what is that? Tubular keys with 8 or 10 or 12 pins. Where do you get this type of locks? On your laptops, in slot machines. What else? In motorbikes, also vending machines that sell condoms. So at the end of the day, you need 4 screws and then just a couple of ball pens to do exactly the same thing. At the end of the day, you spend 20 euros on that. And here on the right, this is what we see on TV. They are used to open any kind of locks. This is more complicated than it looks. It needs kind of a tightener. But those who are lazy, such as myself, use this type of things. These are like small guns that emulate bumping system. You just put it in the lock and it lifts all these springs. You just align them and then the lock is open. Do you have a lock that does not fit any of these? For instance, what type of locks do you have? Well, just pop it out. I told you before that opening a safety key was much easier than opening another type of key. I'll play a video about that. As you can see, Magnum ice creams changed the formats of the sticks. Well, having seen that, which is the best mechanism for physical lock, something that we use every day, shall we call Bruce Lee, or what can we do? Well, there are a number of tools that we can use. I'm not going to talk about any brands. So you don't know what the lock is, and you may use any Wi-Fi technology to close and open and close your door. And then we also have other systems with several authentication systems, for instance, a fingerprint, or remote control, or a keyboard, or smartphone. Fingerprint. We all have fingerprints on our smartphones. They tell us that biometrics are safer, nicer, more affordable. But how safe do you think biometrics is? In this case, your fingerprint. Is it better than the pattern, worse than the pin? better than the pin, as bad as. It is even worse. Think about it. What do you touch with your hands? You touch everything. You are just delivering your password across. So you're saying, this is my password. That's what you are sharing. So it doesn't really make sense, but we all bought in. So you know how to create a fingerprint in 5 minutes? You just go to a place that has been touched by that person because we have oil in our fingers. Then you just put some adhesive and then some tape. Then you have the mold of the fingerprint. Then you just use like some putty and then that's it. Putty, and then you have the fingerprints. Then also facial biometrics, 2D images. So this doesn't really make sense anymore. And this has evolved into 3D biometrics, facial biometrics. It is equally vulnerable. Same as keyboard typing, based on how you type or how fast you type, users are identified. This is quite good, but the one that I like the most, because I haven't found a way to fake it, is vascular biometrics. This is about the veins of your hand. So this type of systems, when embedded in a laptop or in a mouse, offer a robust and secure way to authenticate yourself. Then we have other things, such as the physiognomy of your ears as a way to authenticate yourself. And this is the most interesting of all. At this point in time, there are several European entities, such as the European Bank, that tell us that we will be authenticating ourselves in banks through live video streaming to carry out transactions. Are videos reliable? Biometrics about a video of a person, is that sensible? Who said no? So this is a good example of that, of these poor guys. Okay, I play another video now. I'll tell you more about it, and I will show you the official video. This is a project from Stanford University. So what does it do? At Stanford University, a man called Hace, together with Microsoft and with another group of people, carries out a project. They only needed 15 seconds of a person and a video to emulate live video streaming using just a normal, ordinary computer to emulate any ID system. So the good thing is that they do not disclose it. Yes, they do disclose it because the demo is available So how many of you will authenticate yourselves through video streaming in your bank? Well, there is a app that you can try, which is the app chat, where your face is changed. So authentication systems have a great challenge ahead of them. So, web pages auditing. Who has made this hacking, this auditing or ethical hacking or intrusion tests? These things that we all do or companies do. Well, some time ago, I decided to search for handbags. Don't ask me why, because I don't use handbag. But I found more than 400 websites selling these Michael Kors handbags. I don't know why these ones, but as you can see, these are not cheap handbags, around 1,000 euros. We can all can afford the bag of these kinds. And this type of websites selling these online services, if you scan them for vulnerabilities or you do a manual ethical hacking, you find that there are no vulnerabilities. And the question is that there are some systems as AAS, you can connect through DGP, and you can connect and do fun things like if you had a proxy in your computer. And at the end of the day, bags end up costing €2 or whatever price you want to give to them. So the output is similar like if you had a proxy in the middle, you do man in the middle, then you change the query to the database and you modify the price. This has been there, that has been there for 10 years and no one has noticed it. So in this case, instead of lowering the price, I increased the price. So Wi-Fi networks. What can I tell you about this that you don't know? He's our good friend with his nice antennas, more than 50 kilometers, so then the satellite dish. We can, this costs €100. So if we know that these protocols are vulnerable, what is the main problem of Wi-Fi? Problem is that Wi-Fi is all the time transmitting data into space. That could be a problem. But the main problem is that points of access, by definition, in the protocol 208i, have a mechanism for the authentication. And why do we continue to use that when any neighbor, any person could stop us from having Wi-Fi? Well, if you cannot have Wi-Fi at home, perhaps it is not a problem. And we full of surrounded by devices. What happens with IoT devices? They all use Wi-Fi. For those of you who don't know GoScript, you can get all the WPA2s in 7 seconds. It is quite simple, quite intuitive, user-friendly. Children can do that. Now let us move on to another topic which was quite interesting up until 2 days ago. Let us see how can I explain this, share this with you without going into trouble. What is that? Well, these are cards that had in the US where you could scan your chip or just enter data through a connector that you connected to your smartphone. Then you could just store data from all your cards. Well, plain and simple. The problem, depending on the site where you are, in this case, this was a problem. The problem was that in this type of systems, the information is sent out to servers, and then the servers communicated with Visa, MasterCard networks. That was in clear text with SOA services. Interesting, eh? What does that mean? No, it doesn't mean anything. Yes, it meant that you could communicate with banks and networks, you could modify cards, credit cards, you could do very many beautiful things. Apparently, they have realized that, and this project was cancelled 3 days ago. However, they have published a disclaimer, which is a bit strange, saying that from now on, this will not work. You will be able to recharge your cards, but if you have used your cards as electronic cards, the balance will continue to be there. You can continue to use your electronic card. That means that the API will continue to be there, even if it's not operational. The app will continue to be there, even if not operational. Services will be for some time on the web, even if it's in the cache memory. So this could be very good fun, don't you think? Does this ring a bell? Well, if you have any questions, please interrupt me. What is that? This is a payment management system for vending machines. What's that? So for instance, if you buy a bag of crisps or anything else, you may pay with your credit cards, with your electronic cards, with very many things. And that person who is not me today has the devices such as this one. They are not mine. Set up a system to make some demos in his own local network. He just did that from home. And what happens with these systems? Well, it's a part of GSM. They use 2M2 cards. And the information and, well, GMS attacks can be easily made. However, there is a problem here. They manage the code in some manner, they add security to it, and communication goes as follows. Hello, I want to make a transaction. Oh, good. Okay, this is the password. Highly secure. And you don't get this in the systems only, but you get exactly the same thing in other systems that I cannot disclose to you today. SCADA systems, are you raising your awareness or not? What is happening? What is wrong? Are you afraid? Are lots of fear? SCADA systems. Well, because of the faces that you're pulling, I will skip that. Could be a bit dangerous. Nowadays, what we see in terms of security is a full lack of what? Of resources at companies and talents. Lack of talent and resources at companies. They say that smart people are being extinguished. Now, looking at Trump's son, perhaps, well, no, they are not in danger of extinction. Mr. Trump. On the one hand, it seems that there is no young talent, there aren't enough people, and on the other hand, it seems that there are people who are too clever. So I don't know whether you heard about Stella Awards. That's for someone who had been in trouble. They report themselves, and then they get money out of it. This lady, she burnt herself, and then she asked McDonald's to give her 2.9 million in compensation. So I told you that I will be telling you a story in my presentation. This is a story, so not everything has to be necessarily real. So this person launched through a boomerang, hit his head with it, reported that, and the insurance gave him 300,000 euros in compensation. There are people who make business out of anything. I understand that you've seen this 1,000 times, but because I like it, I want to show it to you. Google Dork. What's Google Dork? Yes, no? Google Dork is a Google search delivering information. And because cameras are very trendy, because IoT attacks, so here we can see lots of cameras, despite whether they have a password to them or not. And in this case, what I wanted to share with you is that IoT botnets and cameras are harming us quite a lot, including super intelligent machines. And I believe that there is a significant lack of smart training and programs based on security. We have talent, but we need more people. We have training, but we need more regulated training. And I want to tell you the way I see most of the companies. I don't know what's your view of it, but I think this is quite telling. This is quite much right. So we are very close to cars becoming computers on four wheels. Computers, everything is managed from a computer. So the question here is that we're starting to see news about cars that have been hacked. Here I'm referring to all makes and models. Have you seen Einstein series? It's a series with characters such as Seldom in the second chapter. They get a car, they stop it, they break it, and they kill a person. So what do you think? What is the state of the art there? Well, the cars are already fitted with a communication system, with management systems, and no security has been added to that. So it works, but that doesn't mean that it is secure. Very many attacks to tell us that security is necessary on smartphones everywhere, ransomware, very many malicious things. Exposure and identity of very many criminals in the forum of the deep web. That was business. There were not actual hackers, all types of phishing, etc., etc. Now I'd like to play a video to express the way I perceive companies.
Los Simpsons siempre.
The Simpsons are always able to predict the future. I don't know how they do it. These are companies that spend money. Most don't spend anything on anything. So smart homes. I told you about Wi-Fi, the problem with authentication, which is the most challenging one. It may work relatively well, but WPA2, does it exist, by the way? No, it is just a brand invented by manufacturers. It's 802.11e. Hacking homes is easy. Why? You've seen that lights go on, the blinds go up and down, the fridge does the shopping automatically. So how do those things work? What protocol do they use? ZigBee. What is this? This is like Wi-Fi, short-range Wi-Fi for a number of devices, which has more than 50 implementations. Different implementations from different vendors. The protocol may be very similar, but each one goes its own way. In 2015, we had ZigBee exploited at Black Hat. Any device at home that uses ZigBee here or in any other country? I didn't say that myself, okay? I will deny having said it. This is me at 12. A year before I started working. I started when I was 13. I still had hair on my head. And just see how naive I was, that I was acting as one of the three wise men at school. Different certificates, different courses. Remember the Black Beret? This is a previous quiz from the previous speaker, when I was the winner, my previous life. What will I tell you about now? What do we have to the right-hand side? What is this? This is what? A little doggy. I'll tell you briefly about forensics. After all the things we've seen, I mean, this is, I'm sure this is all familiar to all of you. How do we investigate incidents apart from the police, the civil guard? What happens? Well, we have the experts.
Identifican los casos, normalmente duplican los dispositivos, los archivos.
So they duplicate the files, they do the analysis. Do devices get deleted? Really? Corrosion.
Tienen dos capas y yo no.
But SSDs have two layers. I usually explain this as if it was your mum. You have two levels, okay? At one level you read and write, and then there is another layer with the same capacity where there is a protocol called trim. So it says where your furniture goes, it says where your
Tema, digamos, es.
So that it is a very complicated. It's very difficult to get rid of an SSID because you need to delete both layers. When you clone a device, what is cloning, by the way? I heard something I didn't like. It's not copying, okay? Neither that. When you duplicate a device, you don't do bit by bit. You do sector by sector. When you duplicate a system, you take the existing file system and the previous ones, the ones that were deleted, whatever is physically in the hard drive. If you have a drive, EDIS, SATA, or whatever, spinning at 7,200 RPM in kilometers per hour, how much is that? That's 200 and something. If we are driving at 200 and something kilometers per hour, don't you think that we will make mistakes writing? Well, there's mistakes in writing on hard drives. You need to know how big the holes are to write zeros and ones. And think about secure deleting algorithms. When you do a wipe, for example, is it writing at a low level? A Goodman 35, are those algorithms good enough? Your information is still there. If you use elements like a tunnel microscope, you're able to extract the information. What am I trying to say? That we need training people that have the skills, little doggies. We need lots of things, okay? At the end of the day, this is the example. We have the couple there. No, security is not working, we have to do something. This is us trying to achieve security. We never get there. Well, see for yourselves. Play your own games. Nothing is as easy as social engineering. How about hacking with this? Armitage. Let me show you where things stand.
Darme la mano si quiere.
Dadas las circunstancias, mejor no. Señor Vance, me temo que es usted el hombre más enfermo de los Estados Unidos. Padece usted de todo.
¿Acaso tengo pulmonía?
Sí.
¿Diabetes precoz?
Sí.
¿Embarazo psicológico?
Pues sí, un poco sí. Amén de varias enfermedades que acaban de ser descubiertas en usted.
Entiendo. ¿Y no habrá cometido miles de errores?
No, me temo que no.
Suena a mala noticia, entonces.
Bastante mala, si no fuera porque sus enfermedades están muy equilibradas. Si tiene un momento, se lo puedo explicar.
Bueno.
Aquí tenemos la puerta a su cuerpo, ¿eh? Y estos son descomunales microorganismos de fantasía. El de la gripe, el de la bronquitis, esta monada es el de cáncer de páncreas. Y esto es lo que ocurre cuando intentan entrar todos a la vez. Lo llamamos el síndrome de los 3 chiflados.
¿Insinúa usted entonces que soy indestructible?
Oh, no. Incluso una ligera brisa podría...
Vaya, indestructible.
Oh, ¿cómo son las empresas en España? Indestructibles. Bueno, chicos.
No. From me.
Preguntas.
Has hecho un anti-Hugo test.
So that was it from you. Thank you. Questions?
Preguntas. No veo.
Questions? I cannot see anyone, okay? Please stand up. Oh, by the way, I forgot something. You're going to kill me, but that person that is not me studied the degree of awareness on certain car systems. Can you see it?
No. Esa persona estaba paseando.
That person was walking around. He had really nice antennas. I don't know what he did. 3, 6, 9 cars?
¿Oís el clic todo el rato de probando la radiofrecuencia? ¿No se oye? Ah, claro. ¿Cómo se va a oír?
How can you hear us? Oh, they found one. You can use the remote control if you want. Javier, thank you for your explanations. Rather than a question, I want to refer to what you mentioned on that security lock. Did you test it yourself? What type of lock? Because about IT, I don't know that much, but about remote controls and locks, yeah, it's one of the older ones. Okay, because the newer ones are much more difficult. Because you cannot have different depths. They have the security cylinder and everything to take into account. This is quite old, so 14, 15 years ago, they had a little ball, small ball inside, that would turn around. And talking about that video clip, you can do this with the remote control unit for any car. They use a certain frequency, and it works the way it works. It's a standard. Well, some have certificates, like Volvo. Keys are different. Some of them are proximity keys. If you are not near enough, you cannot start the engine. Yes, well, there's several frequencies, but we can talk about this. On the lock, what you need to do is a bigger hole. You use some silver lining, and it accommodates the ball inside, and it turns round. We can test it for you to see it. Other questions?
Más preguntas. Aquí hay una.
No veo.
Alex. Ahí. Ah, perdón.
Dime.
Sí, hola. Bueno, lo mismo, yo...
We can talk about this later, but it's about biometrics, video authentication. I would disagree with a number of things. But anyway, we'll have time later for comments. Yes? Okay, we can talk personally.
Aquí, Alex, aquí abajo. Aquí.
Alex down here. There's another one at the top. Thank you for your presentation, Javier. I saw you before at URIMA and TPJI. And I have a question for you. What is your opinion on legal forensics, the cloning machines for cloning hard drives? What do you think about those machines? You can do a copy, you can make a copy, but because they make a copy so fast, you're prone to errors. So what is your opinion about those cloning machines? Perhaps I didn't explain myself properly. The errors in the normal operation, what you have is a rather large box to store zeros and ones. In that box, we're never told that it stores many more things, which is many more zeros and many more ones. It's like a football pitch where you throw cars. How many cars would hold in a football stadium? Well, it's not one, it's many of them. So the needle, as it rotates, goes into zeros or ones. This is an electromagnetic thing. So whatever is nearby is magnetized as well. So you need to have a large gap. And since they move so fast, sometimes they don't point at exactly the same location. So a low-level formatting or an overwriting procedure, well, you're not really overwriting data. What you're doing is changing the electron volts, the energy assigned to zeros and ones in each layer. So the system reads those that have a higher energy level, but the others are there. If you use a tunneling microscope and you launch the electrons, you get an output of all things with low, medium, and high energy levels. The complicated thing is reconstructing the whole picture. Was it a photograph? Was it a video? But you can indeed do it. The thing is that the ferromagnetic orientation that Javier was mentioning does indeed happen. If you have the specialized type of microscope, you can derive the way in which bits were written based on orientation and polarization. You can do the reading. So when you are told to do a safe delete, well, it's much better not to do anything wicked before safe deleting. Oh, but I didn't give an answer. Cloning machines, those machines that take a hard drive and take it over somewhere else, they're perfect. They don't have any known issues. You take the existing file system and they check for the hash. Okay? And any other questions? I saw someone there. Good evening. Well, above all, thank you for that presentation, which I found really interesting. I wanted to ask you about that attack you did against the website where you changed the prices. That is based on an attack on the BGP protocol. Could you elaborate on that? But not in public. I can tell you in person, privately. But basically, when you have an IP for someone, you get to an AS. Where are ASs? Where they're managed by service providers. Service providers configure those BGPs. Well, that's what the problem lies. Okay? I'll tell you later. And the very, very last question. Whoever guesses the number I have in my brain, whoever is closer to us.
Sí. Muchas gracias por la charla.
Thank you very much for that talk. I had a question. You mentioned a number of methods for authentication by streaming, biometrics, but I didn't hear anything about visible light, communication using visible light. Can you tell us about your view on that, on visible light? Well, that's another authentication system. I mentioned the ones I know. They're all vulnerable, and then I mentioned one which is not vulnerable. But at the end of the day, you need to combine several factors. One factor alone, it may be really good, but sooner or later it will become vulnerable. If you like visible light, perfect. Combine it with something else. At least 2 factors to authenticate. Otherwise, it doesn't make too much sense. Thank you very much, Javier.